It's just such a good intro. It's just every time. It's so great. What's up, nerds? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Unvaulted Podcast. I am your host, Squatingdog, but my mom calls me Jer Bear Sweetie Butt. Anyways, welcome to today's podcast. And today we're going to do a lore update for season 6. And there's no better person to bring in to help me as a sounding board for a lore update than my main man, Mr. PM himself.
What up? What's going on?
Thanks for joining me today.
It's
really nice just to have another voice out there, especially when there's just so much content to talk about.
Yeah, it's not like I really had a choice, as I'm always here anyway. So, but I'm excited. I love talking Fortnite, so I'm hyped to give my opinions on things.
You've got some opinions.
Yes, I do.
I like this. It's really nice to run into some people with some strong opinions, because sometimes people are like, "Yeah, I like what you like," and you're like, "You're boring. You're just boring."
I don't shy away from hot takes at all. So there's going to be plenty throughout this episode.
Well, let's start there, I guess. What do you think of this new season?
I hated it to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Loved it after 2 days.
Wow, that was quick for you.
Yes, and I think it's mainly because the reason why I fell in love with Fortnite was just the simplicity of it. How you landed, you got weapons, boom, done. Mm-hmm. You know, I tend to stay away from games that overcomplicate, weapon loadouts or, mythic abilities and things like that. I like to keep it simple.
Yeah.
So when I saw the crafting mechanic got introduced, I was a little turned off by it. I was like, oh, this is getting a little too much for me. But once I figured out how to actually do it, it was great. It was great.
That's great. I feel like it took me a little bit longer than you. I think I went through like a 2-week terror hiatus of this game. Like, it was just and really it was just because of one gun, the pump. It's like the most overpowered weapon in the game. And it was just, it's like, I had a lot of fun, like, oh, cool, I'll craft some stuff. And then I would get one pumped. I'm like, oh, cool, let me tame an animal. Then I get one pumped. Be like, oh, cool, let me try this new bow. And then I'm going to get one pumped. Like, this is aggravating. So then I was just like, that's it. I'm going to release my inner demons. I'm just going to hold on to a pump. And I'm just going to grind it out and spend all of my energy just making sure I always have that shotgun on hand so I can defend myself.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I feel like I've been all right with it.
Yeah, once I actually discovered it from this podcast, I think early on, once I realized that the new makeshift mechanic was to help people not die right away,
mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, that makes sense. I actually love this now. Like, instead of me landing on a gray pump and then the guy next to me in a Benji Fishy outfit landing in a gold one, everyone's going to have the makeshift guns and we can kind of battle it out for a bit and see who's actually better. So I think it's way more fair. I just think it upsets a lot of the competitive people. And here's a hot take. You ready for this hot take?
I'm ready for this.
If the competitive people are upset, the game is good.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah, that's good feedback. My favorite meme right now is the Neymar trailer where there's like 3 meme-ish skins getting shot down by a Zadie in like a bunker. And the Zadie throws the grenade and the grenade drops right in front of them. Before Neymar shows up, looking at the grenade like they're terrified. And there's a meme where it says that those 3 are the competitive players and the grenade is any new item added to Fortnite.
Yes.
Love that. That's such a good bit. And I think you're right. I think if competitive players are frustrated, that means we have a good meta on our hands.
Yeah, it's fair and balanced. Like, how many people compared to the competitive side actually play this game? It is an overwhelming majority of people. And at the end of the day, Fortnite does love the competitive scene and they do love their competitive players. But the people shelling out the money to keep that game going are the people playing on their, phones, Switches, Xboxes, PS4s. 100%. So those are the people they have to be aware of when they make these updates.
Right. Yeah. I think the competitive players just like get frustrated at the game, but like they don't realize the only reason why they can make as much money as they make is because I'm buying Batman.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm buying these skins. Like, it is my wallet that is providing the income for them to get really cool prize pools. Because if I'm not buying Batman, then they're not making money, essentially.
I can't tell you how many skins I've bought based off of hype that I've now looked back on and been like, why did I do that? I didn't need to do that right away. I could have waited, and I definitely regret it. But that's how they make their money, so I get it.
Yep. And it's genius. They're doing a great job with that. Well, that's cool. I'm glad you like the new season. I asked Twitter. I was like, hey, Twitter, this season is ... And millions of people responded. And 54.6% said that this season is really good, like you. 37.4% said meh, which just means middle of the ground, not like whatever. And then 8%, just 8, said not good. So it would seem as if a majority of people don't hate it. They might not like super love it, but the highest percentage is really good. So a lot of people are enjoying themselves with this new season.
Yeah, I think this is the most, I don't want to say average, but I don't think it's one of the biggest seasons they've done. I do think it's kind of in that mid to bottom tier, but I just don't know if it's one of the better seasons they've done recently.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like what they added this season is going to be foundational for moving forward, I would say.
Yeah.
Crafting, even just the vehicles, different mechanics for vehicles, I think we're going to see a lot more with all of this. And I just hope that they keep the simplicity of it.
Yes.
That's the most crucial piece. Because if they ever get into like where it becomes like World of Warcraft, there's no one's going to jump in the game and continue to play it. They're going to be so confused and turned off.
I agree. Like I don't want to have like this MMORPG open world game where things are happening and people are crafting things and moving things. Like, no, just let me drop, let me get a scar, let me get 20 kills and let me just move on. Like, keep it simple, stupid. That's the best saying I've ever had in my life.
And for what they added this season, which is a complex thing for a lot of games, they're always wrestling with how to do this type of stuff. Mm-hmm. I feel like they implemented it really well, really cleanly.
Yeah, towards the end, I think the worst thing they did was make the makeshift shotguns 2 shots. That was so infuriating. The pump makeshift for that brief, like I think 3-week period, I was upset.
Yeah, that was when I was in my deepest despair. Was when that was happening. Because my luck, I don't drop. Like when you drop, you're like, okay, scout in the area. Usually go to the house that you love because there's a few chests there. I'm doing the same thing as every other player. But the drop that I land on, guess what it is? It's a fishing pole. It's a bow. It's a grenade. It's the most unhelpful close range weapon of all freaking time. And my buddy, my partner house that's dropping, I found a gold pump. You're like, oh my gosh. And so when I had makeshift, bro, I was like, should I just restart? Is this how I do it? But it was, I can get I was so frustrated about that the early season for sure.
The one thing I hate about initial drops is the green bows. Those are the one things I do hate. And I really cannot wait until snipers come back because they will.
Yeah.
And I'm actually kind of excited about the idea of doing the crafting with maybe a sniper. Like, could you imagine like a stink sniper or like a fire sniper? That would be really cool.
Yeah, we had those the previous season, right? So now it's like, how do you make those things happen? And they're answering it with this season, or maybe crafting elements.
Just give me the heavy sniper. I just want the heavy sniper back. I miss it.
Just one shotting a wall and just in somebody's build is the best feeling of all time.
So I will say this: there are few games in the world that don't give me the satisfaction as one pumping someone and hitting someone with a heavy sniper.
Yeah,
like. Those two sounds and the way they feel when you do it, it's like slam dunking. Like it's literally up there with the same thing.
I actually on my phone have the headshot sound as a text message.
It's so satisfying.
It's very satisfying. Great.
Oh.
It's great. Well, no matter where you're at with this season, one thing is for certain, that the lore is way more awesome than it has ever been. And mostly because we haven't had too much lore in previous seasons. We've kind of had to really scratch at the bottom to find whatever we could find down there and make sense of it. Fortnite has been doing a lot of stuff this season on the lore, and it's super exciting. And so today, the topics that we're going to dive into, for those that are listening, is Oro. We're going to dive into RAZ. We're going to dive into Kevin. And we're going to dive into Batman as the comics have been released. And so we're going to talk about each of these and why they're relevant to the map and this season, and kind of make sense of some of the stuff that's going on for challenges. And with that in mind, PM, how apt are you with the lore right now?
I wouldn't say I'm an expert like you, but I am familiar with kind of what's the term I'm looking for? Not the story, but the progression of each character.
Mm-hmm.
I do know about the Batman stuff. I feel like everyone should know that. I do know about the Oro stuff and how it relates to what's his name from the previous season. You know who I'm talking about, the main guy from... Why am I blanking on his name right now?
Midas?
Midas, yes, Midas, how it relates to him. And RAZ, to be honest with you, the only thing I know about RAZ is he has a great riff to go, and that's what I love about him. So.
Great. Well, we're going to dive in, and we are live on my Twitch channel, so there'll be people in chat kind of talking it out as well. So if you're watching this either live or on the YouTube, you'll be able to visually see how chat is reacting, which is a fun little feature for those audiences. But we're going to start off with the smaller topic, this latest update. What is this latest update? It's what's the number? I should have written this down.
16 something, right?
1630. Is that it?
Let's go to our friend of the show, Fire Monkey, to look.
At least that's what people in chat are saying. So let's just say it's 1630. Yeah. Get confirmation. Great. Since 1630, we have a new island on the island, which is funny. It's a miniature little guy. It's below Flush Factory. If you don't know where that is Never Eat Soggy Waffles. Southwest, the bottom of the map. And it's a small little island. It has 2 chests on it. And we have had many islands show up in the past on the island, like around the island, and disappear. But there's one thing that makes this island different than the others, and that is it is producing steam. So why is this a thing? You know, you might be asking, like, why is that important to recognize? Well, 2 things. One, steam usually we haven't seen steam before, so it's telling us something about this island is special, right? It's signifying that there's something unique going on this island that we have not seen before, because we have not seen steam. And 2, typically speaking, steam is a production of lava coming to the surface, creating new land. This is how islands are formed. And so one could speculate that this island has now formed and will continue to form into a mountain of sorts, or, which we've had in the last chapter, a volcano.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
So yeah, that's like you said, it's in that bottom left corner. I don't know, like it seems like it's in such an area where nothing's going to come out of it, like a volcano, but knowing Fortnite, it might just appear out of nowhere. So I don't know.
Just like full-fledged volcano.
I will never forget just loading in one day and Tony Stark's entire lair was just sitting in the middle of the map. And I was like, what? There was nothing to show about this. It was just there. Yep. And I feel like one of the next updates in back, and here's a volcano. And we're going to be like, okay.
I loved the volcano last chapter, bro. Like, that's one of my favorite seasons.
Loved it. What was the Sunny Steps was next to it, and then you go to the volcano and get out of there. Yeah, great rotation.
It's great when you shoot somebody down and they land in the lava and they burn their butts. They're skipping stuff. So satisfying. Something that's unique about this area, some data leakers have found that the island is called Oro Island, which is interesting here because essentially Oro is a character. You guys might remember this character. It's like he's like golden. He looks like a skeleton. His like reading for his description says a golden treasure, an eternal obsession. And so the fact that Fortnite has linked Oro to this specific island also has some interesting implications here. If he is a treasure, we might find more about his lore, which we thought we were going to get, but didn't. And maybe this is his domain, his area, maybe coming from the ocean, which would be really interesting to see. And we'll have to pay attention to that island. And I hope you guys at home that are listening to this or in the car, wherever you are, I hope that you guys pay attention to this island, and please let us know on Twitter if anything happens or changes to it, because we will cover it for you guys for sure. Mm-hmm. So that's the smallest topic, Oro Island. That's cool. It's exciting. But I think the meat and potatoes of what we need to talk about is RAZ, the Kevin, and Batman himself from the comics. So the coolest thing about this next topic is the lore implications of what we're about to talk about. So I'm going to start off with a description of RAZ. RAZ is a character. You guys might know him from the Battle Pass. He's like our sexy boy, shirtless. He's got like really cool hair, and he's just like a total e-boy. What his description says is, ever since he was a boy, the tower has called to RAZ in his dreams, which is creepy. Okay. I don't want that happening to me.
Yeah, I don't either.
Now, after a lifetime of training, I don't know what he was training, he is finally ready to tackle its darkest mysteries. Ironic enough, there is an edit style of RAZ where he is fully dark and he looks like he looks even more badass. But we'll get there. So how does he become that person? How is he trying to tackle these dark mysteries? Is he good? Is he evil? We're going to dive in, figure it out. So the first thing worth mentioning are the spires themselves. Okay. They show up this season. Everyone's like, okay, what is going on? These spires are actually made out of chromium. This is one of the 5th, I think, hardest elements on Earth. How do we know this? Because there's a Fortnite blog post that reads, the spire sent a mysterious energy influencing Tirana, RAZ, the spire assassin, and creating multiple relic styles for each style: chromium, runic, and golden. Spire-inspired chromium styles are made of metal that compose of Season 6 Central Monument. So what this is essentially saying is these spires are made out of chromium, and the characters, if you are unlocking stuff in your battle pass, you're getting up into the 100s, 200s, you're going to start unlocking chromium styles of each of the skins. And then also, chromium, runic, and golden. And these styles are important to pay attention to because they are also connected with the ruins in the game. So given that it's such a hard element to destroy, I don't think we're going to be breaking Dwayne the Foundation Johnson out very easily. So yeah, that was a good joke. I know. I wrote that. I was like, oh, that's good. Yeah, so this is very interesting, right? This is very unique. And what's interesting is the skins eventually have a runic style where it mixes the chromium look, like the spires, and Kevin-like emblems that we've seen in the past embodied on the skins themselves. So if you look, you can look in your game right now, and if you go to any of the Battle Pass skins and you check through the different styles, you'll eventually see the chromium, or it's called runic, I believe, where it's chromium and this like purple glowing Kevin vibes. And there's reason for this, and we're gonna get into why that is. You with me, PM?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm listening.
Okay. So, if you go to RAZ's backbling, tier 46 item in the Battle Pass, he has a backbling called Endless Scroll. It's like a white parchment, and it has Kevin ruins on it, like literally on the pattern. But what's unique about this is at the very top of it, there is actually the Storm King's horns at the very top. These massive, It's very, very symbolic of the Storm King, which is very interesting because what is this thing on his back? This is actually a summoning scroll, which is like, I think, a Japanese inspired relic. And essentially what happens when you have this, if you equip this, you can do this right now in the game. You can equip that back bling. When you get a kill, the font that's on it, which is normally black, turns purple. So when you eliminate somebody in the game, it activates the scroll, signifying that you are sacrificing another for this summoning ritual. How do we back this up? Well, if you continue to eliminate people, if you do 3 eliminations, it starts to do like this purple energy starts to erupt from it. And then if you eliminate 6 people, there's like a pink energy, and it finalizes the form of the scroll. And then this dark energy starts to spew out of it. It starts this like really cool effect. So the question is this a technique that Raz is trying to use to summon the Storm King with, or maybe he doesn't know that he's doing that? You know, this spire has been calling out to him since he was a kid. Super creepy. And maybe he's just tortured and wants to figure this thing out and try to solve its mysteries, and doesn't realize that this is actually attached to the Storm King.
Ooh. So I'm looking at someone on the chat here posted a tweet from Fortnite Twitter about how the spire corrupts those who get too close to it, and it's a picture of Raz. I do think he's turning into this evil figure based off of the elimination thing you're talking about. Like, he's starting to change, and it could be that he's looking to see, like, maybe the Storm King is the figure that brings in these spires and is kind of influencing him to become this evil figure.
Yeah.
Could very well be that. And then maybe Kevin the Cube has something to do with that energy be given off. I mean,
right. So
that's heavy.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? So what's interesting is we haven't seen Fortnitemares show up on the map outside of October. Yeah, I mean, 2019 is when we last had it, which was actually on the map that we're playing on now. It wasn't the first chapter, it was the second chapter. And he came from the water or the ground, made of Kevin energy, if you will. For those that don't know what Kevin is, you're like, who is my neighbor's name is Kevin. Kevin is what we named the cube in chapter 1 that went into the water, and a lot of figures in the game have a Kevin version of themselves, which is like this dark energy. They just look like they're just not looking good. They just look like they've had some energy zap out of them. But yeah, so we haven't seen Fortnitemares since October, and October's still a little ways away. So it'd be kind of weird for him to summon him this early. So maybe this is a long process. I don't know. But it would seem that this energy is coming from at least the underground, because these ruins are kind of like trees, if you think about it. Trees, they take soil and water from the earth, replenish themselves. Their roots go long into the earth. It would seem as if that these spires could be trees getting nutrients off of Kevin energy, which could be still in the game, in the map underneath. We also know from the trailer where Jonesy is on a mission that there's relics of Kevin underneath. That could also be where this energy is being gathered from. But these ruins that have been created, or these big spires, these are, I think, really important to recognize, because it's imbued with the same chromium, and each of the spires on top of them have a Kevin symbol on them. And what's interesting about this is it's as if the skins in the game, in the battle pass, the style of the runic version, where there's purple imbued energy coming out of the chromium style, it's as if the spires have not been activated yet, because they have the ruins on them. They just don't have that purple energy flowing out of them. So I think this is a little bit of what we will see in the end of this season, maybe in an event where these ruins get activated, and maybe the summoning ritual that is happening with Raz that transformed him will happen to the map and transform the map.
I hope so. At this point, any sort of map change, drastic map change, I'm okay with.
Yeah.
So it would be super cool to see Kevin the Cube come back and do that kind of trail he did. I think that'd be really cool to see that again.
Well, in chapter 1, what PM's talking about is chapter 1, Kevin shows up, lightning hits the sky and the ground, and Kevin has been born in the air. And then all of a sudden he starts rampaging the ground very slowly over the course of a full season. And every time he would land in a specific area, he would imprint a ruin into the ground and continue. So just like he would just put stamp, just like putting a stamp on the ground. He put, I think, 7 stamps in the ground. And essentially that actually makes a square if you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And those same ruins, those same stamps that were in chapter 1 are the same stamps that are in the ruins at the top, which also make a square.
So someone remind me here. Did Kevin the Cube show up out of nowhere? Was there any indication that he was coming weeks prior?
I don't think so. Because really random.
What I remember, I'm trying to remember vividly, but what I remember is waking up and seeing people be like, "Oh, we have an update," and this random cube just showed up.
Yeah, totally.
And so I know Fortnite in Epic Games has been using that new Unreal Engine. Is that what it's called? Where they can change things live in game. I mean, what's going to stop them from next season being like, "Oh, you're in the middle of a build battle in the FNCS. Here's Kevin the Cube."
Yeah, I hope so.
We're going to be like, what?
I would love to see professional players be thrown off like that. It would be so crazy to watch.
It would be really cool from Fortnite if they didn't tell anybody, and let's just say randomly on a Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, they just dropped it.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
And everyone's like, "Oh, what? What does this mean?" And then they just left it there.
I'm into that.
I am too.
Totally my caliber. I know a lot of people would disagree with me though. So, yeah. What's interesting about this, all of this Kevin stuff, right? Laura Croft was like, "Hey, RAZ, if you go to Laura Croft, she has like a line that says that warns RAZ about not messing with the spires because they're dangerous and could attract attention," which gives more like Storm King vibes to me. So RAZ transforms, right? He turns into his weird, demon self, whatever we call him, fully Kevinified. He is now protecting the spire, interestingly enough. And his old self is looping. It's like in a looped state on the map. So you can go visit Angry Boy RAZ. I call him Super Saiyan RAZ. And this guy is amped up. He's really hard to kill. He's got a lot of heals. I would recommend getting on the spire, harpooning him up to you, and having him fall damage. Quick, easy kill if you're still trying to do that challenge.
That is good to know.
And he has this thing that he does where he holds this relic up, and this portal opens and shoots you with this laser beam that goes through all builds. It's awesome. It really feels great as a player to get hit by that. But it'll hit anybody in the area. So you could be there with your squad, and just accidentally bump into them, and then everyone in your squad is taking damage. It's crazy. But it's actually a ruin or a relic that he has on the side of his skin. So if you look at his skin on his belt, he has the same ruin, this relic. And that is, if you look at it, it's a small little piece of Kevin, actually. And so when you eliminate him, we have a challenge, the Spire challenges. When you eliminate RAZ, you take that relic and you can look in, and it's just like a little shard of Kevin, which gives more I feel like we're always circulating around these pieces of Kevin, these artifacts, these remnants, these it's almost like we're trying to put all these pieces together to make Kevin back again or something. I don't know why we need the cube back, but
I want I want to ask you a question that I just thought about, but I'm going to let you finish this part out because I want to get your opinion on this. So don't let me forget it.
Okay. So I'll kind of like circle back to this. So essentially, that artifact that happens, that little piece of Kevin, it's the pieces that we have of like what he looks like, and the only other place that mentions Kevin outside of these spires and this relic is Kevolution. And if you don't know where that is in Steamy Stacks. It's what we call Steamy Stacks. It's the Kevolution Steamy Stack area. In the past, the inside that area, there's like this like pool testing area, and it used to be all purple. In previous updates, they updated it to clear water, which is interesting. It's like a perfect little square. And Steamy Stacks has been fully operational. You'll see like this Kevin purple fumes coming out of the main stacks. But what's interesting is they intentionally changed the water color from purple, what was purple, to clear. And so I'm wondering if this season, if RAZ, in the primal age, connects the dots with like the technology of Kevolution, if that will bring back Kevin, maybe going there using the artifact. I don't know, but it seems like there could be this connection. And what's also interesting about Steamy Stacks, it is the same exact upper right hand corner where Kevin first appeared in chapter 1, signifying that this could be the second birthplace of Kevin in chapter 2. I think that's all I have. What do you got for me? What was your thought?
Okay, so we saw in the beginning of the season that the Foundation, aka the Rock, made himself into that ball, correct?
Yeah, he contained it. Yeah,
contained the blast. Now, this could be completely debunked or out of theory, but I just thought about this. What is stopping RAZ from becoming the cube?
Elaborate.
What if you finding these shards of Kevin is actually him trying to find the cube so he can become the cube?
Yeah, like merge with it or something.
Yeah, like what if he's trying to? That's like his ultimate end goal is to become it, or maybe he's like, maybe the energy from the cube is so evil that he recognizes it, just like the Rock did with the blast, that he wants to quote unquote contain it.
Right. Yeah. Totally.
And yeah,
that's a good theory. I think what's interesting, I mean, we finally have an item that is saying like his relic on his back bling is like, you need to eliminate people to activate this thing. Yeah. And so we are in a constant loop of people being eliminated. Like this is the reality, is people are constantly eliminated and being able to do that again and again and again. Mm-hmm. So what if the thing that's fueling the island itself is us eliminating each other, and the torturing, if you will, what Batman calls the asylum of Fortnite, is fueling the summoning of something. Is that how we got the Storm King? Is that, like, it's like you're saving up money by eliminating, and you're waiting for this moment to purchase whatever is to come, and these spires are like the first pieces of that puzzle.
Yeah, kind of like a get 9 kills, get the 10th one free kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. build up some points. Yeah.
The last piece with this, I think, unless you have more thoughts, is the description on the back bling of RAZ is called "Keep Scrolling," which is hilarious. Good job, Fortnite. But it also says "redactive" in the little, which could be a nod. It is reactive, but it says redactive, which could be a nod to the redactive POI. It's on the east side of the map, or east of Caddy Corner. It's like this massive underground base that showed up at the beginning, and everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, it's the new, whatever,
the new bunker or whatever it was." Yeah,
but I don't know. Like, it's just kind of an interesting piece. Like, I feel like Fortnite also does that. They also just add stuff, and whether they had intention or not, probably enough attention to keep us distracted or something, or like to talk about it, but not really any lore implications. So I don't know. That's interesting.
I have noticed in the previous seasons that Fortnite does these things where they build up these kind of small storylines like the back bling to kind of get you distracted. But
Yeah.
meanwhile, in the background, like something bigger is even playing out, but you just haven't recognized it yet. And I feel like this is kind of a case of that. Is we're all looking at this back bling as like there's something here, but in reality, we could be like in Misty Meadows, something like actually popped up, but no one would know.
Right.
They do such a great job with this. Such a great job.
Yeah, and now that we have actual lore, it is like a pain in the butt to disseminate between the two. You know? Like how much of this is actually like we should like believe is real lore, and how much of this is just like, oh, these are like side quests in lore.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Not as important, but like worth paying attention to a little bit.
Yeah,
it's interesting. So that's RAZ, which is like really cool. So what's cool about all of this lore is it's based off of challenges in the game. So like as you guys are accomplishing your battle pass challenges, you will get spire quests, and these spire quests have you dig a little deeper into the lore and how Jonesy is connected with that lore. And so I really like the way that they're doing the storytelling, where it's like lore, not for the sake of lore, but lore as gameplay, like manifested as gameplay. It's
yes,
really,
I do like that.
Really cool. And not everyone's going to be into that. You know, they might be like you, where you're just like, hey, give me a spaz, give me my 20 kills, and let me go on to my next game. But there's also other people out there that like love this stuff, and so it's kind of cool to see that both of those can live in the same room together. They can be roommates, and it's an awesome game still.
I do love any sort of interaction. So I think if you're going to do a lore, making it a quest kind of, challenge, I think is awesome. I love that. Making people have to work for things is great. So I definitely love that.
Yeah, it's good. Okay, so that's Kevin, RAZ, and then we did Oral Isle. And now we're going to talk about Batman, which is like a classic character that's been finally brought into Fortnite again, if you will. He showed up in Chapter 1 and is now showing up in Chapter 2. This time with a full team of people creating his story and why he's on the Fortnite map. So if you guys have purchased the comics, there's 3 different cover variants, one of them being by Donald Mustard himself, and another 2 that are done by other artists in the DC community. They planned all of this out, and they had said at the beginning, we covered this on this podcast, they had said there's a lot of information and lore that we do not know about the island that will come from these comics. So there's stuff to pay attention to here that will inform what is going on the island and why have I been playing this game for 3 years. So the first thing is we're going to talk about the Batman comics, and then we're going to talk about a animation trailer that they released alongside the comics that informs us of what's happening with Batman in the game right now, as Batman has like this I don't know what you would even call it, just like this budget bat cave on the map.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, dude, this is not college. Like you can do better for yourself, man.
Yeah. So the first episode of the comics starts us off with a few interesting things. Jim, which is like the police commissioner guy, he's on the scene. He's like evacuating Gotham in the comics. He's like, get out, like 5-mile radius. I've always wanted to say that. Like 5-mile radius. All I can do now is just 6 feet, please. 6 feet. Yeah, so he's like evacuating Gotham, and there's this crazy energy beam blasting through. We all know, because we've been playing Fortnite for 3 years, that is an invitation for Batman to join and collaboration and make a lot of money for Fortnite. But that energy beam comes in, and Batman's like, whoa, what is this? And he's like, it's like an eye or a crack in a window, whatever it is. It's tearing reality itself, which, I mean, for a police commissioner to know that's pretty impressive stuff. He really has worked with some weird stuff in his day. And Batman's like, whoa, okay. Like, widen the retreat, 8 foot, 8 feet distance, please.
8-foot radius or whatever it is.
Yeah. And he starts to go investigate this mysterious energy. And of course, lo and behold, he sees Harley Quinn, who's drawn to chaos like a moth to a flame. And Harley Quinn is the first cosmetic we actually get from this comic book. So if you purchase this comic book, each comic book will give you a new cosmetic in the game of Fortnite. It's really cool collaboration, causing people to actually check out these comics. But you'll get the Harley Quinn outfit for just purchasing this first episode. If you get all 6, you will unlock a special Batman, which we'll get into. And then Harley is chilling there and she's just like, hey, what's up? Batman's like, you probably shouldn't touch that. She's like, I'm going to touch it, and jumps in. But before she does, she's like, alludes that somebody else has already jumped in. Batman tries to get that information from her. She's like, I ain't no snitch, and then jumps in. Who do you think that person is?
Oh boy, I do not know.
It could be a lot of people, right? We got Deadeye, we got the Joker, could be Catwoman. There's so many characters that are already in the game. Poison Ivy. But yeah, it could be a lot of people. I think it's Catwoman.
You think it's Catwoman?
Yeah, because in this comic he runs into Catwoman.
Okay.
But that's my first thought. Is like Harley wants to test it with Catwoman before herself.
Naturally, you gotta kick somebody else in the pool before you go in to see if it's cold or not.
Yeah, you ever go cliff jumping with your buds and you're like, you think you can hit the ground if you jump from here? And they're like, I don't know. Like, you do it first.
Yeah, you go first. You go ahead. No, you do the countdown. You go 3, 2, 1, and then no one jumps.
Let them jump. Yeah. Genius. So Batman doesn't figure it out and he starts pulling out his phone, trying to text a friend, I don't know, and tries to discern what's going on with the energy. And then he gets kicked from somebody climbing down a building and literally swings and kicks him into the energy himself. So if Catwoman did it, we got a problem with our DC heroes. These guys are getting kicked into energy. It's not good. And a lot of people, based off of how the comics look, it looks like Spider-Man doing this. And I just want to confirm that it is not Spider-Man. That is Marvel and Sony. This is DC. So
it would make no sense.
If it is Spider-Man and I'm wrong, I'm glad to be wrong, by the way. I would love to be wrong. I want Spider-Man in the game. But I can almost guarantee you, with 99.3% certainty, it is not Spider-Man. I think it is Deadeye who kicks him in because we'll also see him in the comics as well. But that's my speculation. So he gets kicked in, and then Batman. So this is where we start to learn a little bit about the lore itself of what happens to new characters. We saw this with Thor last season. Where is it? Last season, where he starts to lose his memory upon entering. And this is the same thing with Batman. He gets his memories; they start fleeting from him. And then within 22 minutes, Batman goes from full recollection to not knowing who he is. Anything about himself outside of his own physical abilities. But he's not even able to communicate or speak. He loses his sense of speak, which is so unique and fun about the world of Fortnite that they're kind of answering all along, but there are characters that have been able to speak. So it's very interesting how this will work. I'm excited to see how they parse this out moving forward. And so where Batman spawns is also something that's really worth mentioning. I don't see a lot of people talking about this, but there's a place on the map. It's southeastern part of the map. It's called Camp Cod. It looks like its own island. It's connected by one bridge. And it is a collection of all of the previous stuff from chapter 1. It looks like a place where if there was a disaster and they needed to take stuff out and dispose of it or destroy it, it looks like a place that is doing so. So it's like they're taking all of the old chapter 1 relics and destroying it on the island, which is very fascinating, and speaks a little bit to stuff that could be underground. We saw the IO guards. Sometimes they'd pop out of the ground and there would be like a Durburger head and weird relics. What is up with the changing dynamics of what's going on the map? It seems like there is this underground like on top of ground thing going on. But this place seems like the place where they like took all the stuff and they're like, okay, get rid of it and destroy it here. So this is where Batman shows up, which I find also just kind of unique. This is the only place on the map that has any kind of like recollection of previous things and now current or future things. So he shows up and the first thing that goes is he's unable to speak. He tries to communicate to someone he's about to fight that, hey, let's just figure this out. But he can't. So now he has to fight. And now we're watching his conscious thoughts through the rest of the comic itself. He begins to forget who he is. So he's like, he's trying to recollect his name, who he is. And then the only thing he can really hold on to is the fact that he's a trained fighter and his muscles remember all of the training that he has. He puts together eventually that he's being manipulated and calls everyone on the island like maniacs and a part of some sort of asylum, which contextually is the only place, like the crazy place that Batman would know or have context for. You know, in Gotham, we have the Arkham Asylum. So he still has these conscious connections that are going on, but he has the inability to kind of connect the dots of what his purpose is or who he is or why he's there. Then he spots Catwoman, which is interesting, and they really communicate that they know each other. So the whole time they're fighting, just imagine like a romantic comedy but it's all like kung fu fighting, and you're like fighting, but you're like, you see the love of your life on the other side, and you're just like, ooh, and you're like killing somebody, and you're like, that guy seems really nice. So these two are like fighting and like eye contacting each other for days. None of them are bold enough to ask each other out, but Batman does make some interesting comments about her as they're fighting. They start teaming in Fortnite. I already reported them. Don't worry.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And he says he thinks to himself, he doesn't say, we don't remember, but our coordination is flawless. This is while they're teaming, by the way. Are we partners, colleagues, friends, lovers? Which, funny enough, all of that is actually true. But he is alluding to the fact that I don't want to eliminate this person. This person seems special and doesn't know how to engage with her other than just not fighting.
Yeah, there's something in his gut that's telling him not to do it.
You know, like when you're playing the game of Fortnite and you eliminate everybody, there's one person left, and you just look off in the distance, and there's this one guy just pickaxing at you way off.
Yes.
And you're like, should I snipe this guy? And then you're like, no, I'm not going to snipe this guy. And then this guy wants you to kill him. So he like crouches and then, you know, for you to shoot him with a shotgun. And you're like, yeah, I just don't want to. He seems so nice. I'm going to give him the win. But then you don't want to go into the storm right away. So the storm starts closing in again. That's exactly what's happening here. They're both staring at each other's eyes, holding each other for an embrace, and the storm just takes both of them at the same time.
It kind of reminds me of Hunger Games a little bit.
Oh, for sure.
Where, Katniss and I'm forgetting the PETA, where they both kind of got to the end and they were like, no, we're both going to be winners.
Yep.
Like, you can't make us choose one. We're both going to do it. And so I feel like maybe there's this, there's just got to be this force there that's telling them, like, we can't go against each other, even if it comes down to the end.
And what's interesting is Batman is making the connection that the storm is the enemy, the real enemy, and is so fascinated why people are trying to kill each other. Like, why not work together against the storm type of thing? Yeah. But it seems like there's this spell, or maybe just forgetting every time, or survival, or whatever. But everybody is so intense about eliminating each other. And so Catwoman is also like Batman, where they first show up and they're like, why are we fighting? Like, what is the reason for fighting each other?
Again, it just reminds me of Hunger Games a little bit. I mean, not to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but that's pretty much what happens in the first one is, you know, they have these determined fighters that show up and spend their whole life training for this. And then a subgroup of people who are just like, why are we doing this? Like, what is the overriding power here that's telling us to do this?
Right. And so even in the end, right, like both of them think they're going to die. So they would rather not kill each other and die to the storm then know that they're going to get the victory royale screen. Like
number one victory royale.
So they're willing to like put it all on the line and perish for this, which is so fascinating. But they're able to, for whatever reason, pick this up. And so the storm takes them. They think they're going to die. And then right away, we can transition to the the Fortnite. They did this intro video of the comics, of the collaboration. You guys can check this out on the Fortnite website or on the DC website, the YouTube. And over there, you can actually see that they do this like cool, like animated deal. And on there, sorry, it distracted me, but that's fine. On there is a scene where it's like Batman goes to this island, blah, blah, blah. And then like Batman shows up and he looks at his gauntlets, and etched on the gauntlets, it says, "This has happened before," on the right side. And on the left side, it says, "You have 22 minutes. So Batman, he's the world's greatest detective, which we have talked about.
Yes.
And this man is now taking information that he learns in 22 minutes and etching it on his wrists so that the next version of himself, the next loop, that he has something to work with. You might notice in the skin, there's the Zero Batman skin. He has a spray paint bat symbol across his chest. And he also spray paints a place on the map in Slurpy Swamps. He has the budget bat cave. He spray paints the bat there. So he knows when he shows up, like, okay, I'm paying attention to my body. I've got a bat symbol on. I don't know I'm Batman, but I have a bat symbol. And then, oh, there's a bat symbol here. I have 22 minutes. You go into the budget bat cave, and inside is a bunch of notes. He's got a chalkboard. He's got a cool little operation system, but really on a budget. You can tell he doesn't have like his finances of past days. And he's trying to piece together, how do I escape whatever I'm in, which is awesome. Like, this is cool. And this is also interesting because I feel like we saw something similar with Midas. We saw something similar, with these other characters on the map where they're going insane. And they're going insane because they're trying to figure out how to escape. And so I think what we will see in the future is, I think he needs help. I think he needs to find other people on the map that also are quote unquote woke about this happening, and not like crazy people like all these other people. So it's kind of interesting, like, to see all of that stuff taking place. What's your take on it, PM?
I feel like every time I think I have this take, Fortnite's going to do something and completely flip it around. Like I know I threw you for a loop there, but Donald Mustard just tweeted out something new about Copy 2, and now I'm like re-questioning everything again. So
he wrote, just got copies from Batman 0. Issue 2. The issue is incredible. I'm going to sign these 3 and send them to 3 of you. We'll share details on my Instagram, the Donald Mustard.
And what's throwing me off, and I'm usually not the person who likes to dive deep into photos. I don't know if you have it up on stream or not, but for photos. But if you look in the back right in the pink, that's actually the Chapter 1 Season 4 loading screen.
Okay.
And it's the superheroes fighting with Harley Quinn sitting above it, and a Wonder Woman-like figure in the back too. And then to the left of that is Wonder Woman. So when we keep talking about these remains that are being left over from like Camp Cod, or you're starting to see his imprints, I lean more towards we're kind of going back to old map stuff. I don't really want to say it, but they do so well at teasing people on this kind of thing. They just kind of throw it out there and you're like, come on, give it to me. Yeah, I mean, as far as the budget Batcave goes, I kind of laughed when I saw it, but I think it does make a lot of sense that he's trying to find his way. Like, he just doesn't know. He just doesn't know himself. And he's in this kind of bunker trying to put the pieces together, and eventually he will. And eventually there will be a Batcave, and we'll probably get a car that's just like the Iron Man car, but even cooler.
I hope so. That'd be so cool.
That would be awesome. And then another thing for the competitive players to complain about too. So
For sure.
Can't wait until that becomes OP and, they fly across the map and they're like, there should be more of these. Why is there only one?
Yeah, I want my own bad car. I think that they're going to do a thing where, just like how we have wraps for vehicles, we're going to have like full on like Batman wraps. So like, for example, you got Mudflap, the diesel, you got the mini or the car, the Honda Civic, whatever it is. It would be cool if like you could purchase in the game the Ghostbusters car. And then whenever you get into a car, it would turn into a Ghostbusters car instead of a regular whatever. And so we can get stuff like the Batmobile. We could get stuff like, all these classic, incredible cars in the game. That's got to happen at some point in time. It's got to.
It has to. Yeah, it has to.
It's just a matter of like when, and I hope it's next season because I would just, I'd freak out. Like, it'd just be so cool to be able to like go, which one of these classic legendary vehicles do I want to drive up on right now? Like, that'd be rad.
It would be. Now, you did mention the spray paint on his costume or his outfit, I should say. Mm-hmm. I did notice in the new tweet that Donald Mustard put out, half of his sleeve or his entire left sleeve is off.
Yeah.
Is that any in the styles we've seen previously, or is that something new?
That's new. Yeah. Yeah. The sleeping gun is new. Mm-hmm.
I wonder if we're going to get kind of that Jonesy style where you progressively get a more ripped and jacked Batman over time, and that would be super cool.
He just like works out so much on the island.
Yeah, he's just doing push-ups and pull-ups constantly. He's like, I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, and it's a definitely different character model in terms of size of the Batman Zero outfit to the past Batman outfits that we've had in the game, which is very fascinating. Yeah, it's crazy. So that's Batman. So there's a lot going on in the game right now in terms of lore. It's crazy.
Yeah, you wonder, like, how much bigger can they get with this? Like, I just feel like, we talked about this pre-show, but like, I never really mentioned this. Like, Fortnite could always continue this story. Like, this story wasn't pre-written in comics. Like, they are currently creating the story, and it could go on for years, and we will never know.
Oh yeah, I will continue to say this. Like, this game is not going anywhere.
No,
not going anywhere. They have too many connections in too many places, and are hell-bent on making this succeed and putting millions of dollars into this game to make it survive, to make it a household name that is not going anywhere. And I think a lot of people want to see it die because they're used to seeing all games die.
Yes.
Like that's just kind of how it's been. There's exceptions, but I think what's hard about things like, I used World of Warcraft as an idea. It's like, if I wanted to join World of Warcraft, the entry point is really difficult.
Yes, now it is.
I don't know. I would have to learn so much, and that's hard. That's a hard thing. They are keeping the premise of entry so simple, but the expansiveness of the world, lore, items, cosmetics, all that stuff, just on top of it. It's just like an added feature. It's not like going to kill you. Although the caliber of people that play this game, I think is going to be the reason that people will stop to play it. And I think that's where we're starting to get into some of the issue of Fortnite. Is I think people leave not because they didn't have fun or that their favorite characters were in the game. I think people are leaving because they don't get the satisfaction of getting a win, because the other person that they're playing against is like so out of their league that it's causing issues.
And then vice versa. On the other hand, for me, I'm a very competitive person, and I want to do everything I can. When I love doing something, I want to do everything I can to make sure I'm as good as the greatest. Yeah. And it doesn't always work out. Like, that's a forewarning for any, younger kid who's listening. Like, it doesn't always work out, and that's okay. But Like I will play Fortnite pretty regularly, but I will get destroyed pretty regularly too. But I sit back and go, okay, that makes me excited. That doesn't like put me down because I sit there and go, okay, this is what he did. This is what I want to do too.
Yeah.
And I think there is a handful of people who saw it and go, you know what, I just can't do this anymore, and then quit and went to something else. And then I also think there's a lot of people who think that and go, you know what, but I do really want to get better at this.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And there's a huge like spectrum of that reality. Like,
yeah,
there's people everywhere in between all of that, you know, to a World Cup champion to, I'm just going to download this on my mobile device. Like,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
The reach that like so I play basketball pretty competitively. Not anymore because of COVID, obviously. When that comes back, I will. But I've had to explain to people this last year and a half that like Fortnite's kind of replaced my basketball as far as the competitive mindset goes.
Yeah, sure.
Like they're like, hey, do you want to come play golf? I'm like, yeah, sure. But they're doing it like every day. And I'm like, no, like I need to get on Fort tonight because if I don't, I'm going to lose that edge. Like there hasn't been a game before that's wrapped me up. And as far as I need to stay on top of things.
Sure.
And if I don't, and I'm not even a pro player, and that's just how this game evolves. And eventually it's just going to keep going for me. It's never going to end.
Yeah. I feel like, well, I mean, at some point in time it might, but like, we'll see how that goes. But I feel like the end for everyone is going to be different. It won't be because the game's not around, you know, it'll be because of circumstance. Yeah. Or like you have a child or like, I don't know, something like in that regard, but like not because the game is gone. No, I think, you know,
like could this be one of the first shooter games ever where they always stay in beta and it always becomes a new game every year? Like I always relate it back to, you know, Madden games and NBA 2K games where they make you pay for a new game every year.
Oh yeah, totally.
They could benefit so much by cutting that out and just doing updates.
Well, what they're doing is the subscription model is essentially that. So anybody that's like in any type of industry, you're trying to get your entire business to be on some sort of subscription model because that's the easiest way to get money from people. It's like
long-term.
It's just long-term thinking. Mm-hmm. There's probably subscriptions that I'm still attached to that I don't know I'm attached to that I would like to know that I'm attached to if I just looked at my bank account, you know? So like, I think that's the reality is like, if you can get a kid, you know, a mom who has a son who has a birthday and they're like, what do you want for your birthday? I just want the subscription. Like, great. And now you are getting money from that mom, you know, for the rest of that kid's life.
Pretty much. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many times I get PayPal notifications on a daily basis of like, you paid $5 for this subscription. I'm like, yeah, probably.
Yep. Totally.
Like, I don't know what it is, but probably. Then think about how many more millions of kids do that for Epic Games.
Yep.
Which is
the move, right? That's smart. That's them that's them solving the problem of, we just released a new game, pay us $50.
Yeah.
This is just pay us, you know, what is
it? And then to be honest with you, you still are, I guess, paying $50 for the battle pass. Like you're like, if you are still paying a lot of money per year, but that is optional and people like that. And so they'll probably actually want to spend it because they like the fact that it's optional.
Absolutely. 100%. You're not excluded from playing ever.
Yes.
Never. You can always play the game, whatever you want. It's just based off of what do you want out of the game.
Yeah.
It's a really incredible business model.
And so, yeah, it's going to be really cool. I remember when the Durr Burger showed up in person. Do you remember that over the summer?
Yeah.
And I went up to my brother and I was like, do you know how like unheard of this is that a video game is like doing IRL like theories and lore stuff? And he's like, yeah, I don't care. And I'm like, no, this is a huge deal. Like, I don't think you get this. And I think it's cool to see it translate into like the comic books. Like there's going to be things in the future where like, if you want to understand the game, you're going to have to buy something in real life.
Yep. Totally.
And I'm excited to see where that goes.
I'm similar. It's like, I just need somebody to tell someone how excited I am about something in Fortnite. And every time my wife looks at me like, it's a video game.
She doesn't get it. She doesn't get it.
Nike is in Fortnite. This is crazy.
Like, yes, Travis Scott. There we go.
It's just a video game.
Yeah.
Somebody, this is crazy. Yeah, like it's just there's so much going on with this game. It's hard to keep up these days. Like that's why I think that's what's fun about this podcast is there's always something to talk about in the game. And the fact that we do this every 2 weeks is just like there's so much more every time. Yeah. There's so much more to talk about.
Speaking of that, I will never forget the black hole event and being in my mom's living room with my brothers and just sitting on my phone while they were having conversations about like the NBA finals or something like that. And I was just looking at it and I was like, okay, when's the next number coming up? Like nothing else mattered in that moment.
That's so funny, dude. That's so funny.
No other game could do that to me.
Well, I mean, all of us were just like, what do we do now? You just realize how much free time you have once the game is gone.
Oh, that made me realize how much I played that game when 48 hours was too long.
Yeah, totally.
And I was like, oh, this is a problem. And I was like, I need to take it back a bit.
Totally. Yeah, that's so great. Well, thank you so much, PM, for being a part of this. Yeah. This was a good conversation, good lore, good stuff to talk about. If you guys are listening at home, please consider writing us a review if you are enjoying this type of content. That would be really helpful for the podcast. And also, if you want to get more involved, be sure to drop a follow on our Twitter. It is Unvaulted Pod. And if you want more about me, my name is Squatingdog. You can always use my code Squatingdog in the item shop. If you like this type of content, please come on by my Twitch channel. Come on by my Twitter. Let me know how you feel about it. I'd love to create a dialogue with you and get to know you. And that is it, everybody. Thank you so much for today's podcast. Episode 5. We don't have a name for it, so be sure to let us know.
We're going to call it the unnamed episode. Everyone's going to wonder what it is.
We just needed something catchy on it. And, I don't know.
Well, mine. It's just not, safe for work.
Yeah, for sure. As you are. You're never safe for work.
No, never.
Never wearing pants. All right. Thank you guys. Have a good day. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.